morning, everyone, and welcome to Everybody Church. This is our all ages service for everyone in our congregation, so we are so glad that you are here and worshiping with us today. We will be doing all the things we love to do at Everybody Church. We'll sing some songs, we'll do a craft, we'll have a prayer, and we'll share some stories. But before we do that, let's take a look and see what time of year it is on our Christian calendar. So let's take a look here. And we can see that the arrow is pointing to the green color. So that means that we are in ordinary time, which means it's just not a special time. It's a great time. It's just not a special time right now. And we're getting really close to the color purple. And do you remember what the color purple is? It represents the season of Lent. So we are getting really close to Lent. And Lent is the season before Easter. So we have a butterfly here to show Easter. So that's what's happening, is we're getting into this phase of our calendar. But today is ordinary time. So that means that we're going to share a story about Jesus and his followers. So we'd like to start off with our sing-along. So we're going to join Carla and Diane. And please sing out loud and have some fun.
1, 2, 3, 4. Come to the table, come to the table, come to the table, come celebrate with us. Come to the table, come to the table, come to the table, come celebrate with us. We are all welcome, we are all welcome, we are all welcome, come celebrate with us. We are all welcome, we are all welcome, we are all welcome, come celebrate with us. Let's have a party, let's have a party, let's have a party, come celebrate with us. Let's have a party, let's have a party, let's have a party, come celebrate with us.
Great, our next song is Our God is So Great. So this one has actions, so make sure you've got enough space to move your arms. And here we go. Oh, God is so great, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing that God cannot do. Oh, God is so great, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing that God cannot do. The mountains are God's, the prairies are God's, the stars are God's handiwork too. Oh, God is so great, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing that God cannot do for you. Wonderful. And our next song is one that we haven't done in a while. But I don't know why we haven't done it in a while, because it's such a great song. It's called When the Spirit Sings in Me. And even if you don't know it, you can totally sing along with the chorus, because the words are la 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 la. Okay? So just, you'll totally get the hang of it by the time we get to the second verse.
Okay. Oh, 1, 2. When the Spirit sings in me, she sings out loud and clear. She sings a song that sets us free and casts out every fear. And I don't know where that sweet wind will blow. All I know is that's where I'm gonna go. Singing la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la
For our Bible story today, I wanted to share with you this Bible. It's called Read, Wonder, Listen, and it's written by a woman named Laura Alleri, and this is a really excellent children's Bible because the way the stories are written is wonderful, and they're very understandable, and each story has a picture as well, so it's a good Bible for those ages 10 and under, for sure. So I'd like to share with you one of the stories that's found in this one, and it's called Walking on the Waves. So I'll show you the picture. Okay. Here is our story. After the great picnic was over and everyone had gone home, Jesus needed time alone. So he told his disciples to sail on ahead and meet him on the other side of the Sea of Galilee. But they did not want to leave him. How would he catch up? Where would he find another boat to cross the sea in the dark? But Jesus insisted. When the disciples had sailed away, Jesus went up on the hill to pray, and he stayed there all alone until dusk. Meanwhile, the disciples were not getting very far. The wind was very strong, and they were sailing right into it. Can you imagine? It's like if you're walking to school and the wind is blowing right in your face and how hard it is to walk. Like that's what was happening. It seemed to take hours to make any headway at all. As darkness fell, they wondered if they should turn around and go back. They did not want to be caught in another storm, not without Jesus. All through the night they struggled against the wind, and in the light gray just before the dawn, when they were all bleary-eyed with exhaustion, they thought that they saw Jesus walking among the waves. Well, how could that be? Impossible. No living person can walk on water. The disciples clutched at each other in terror. Was it a ghost? Then, cutting through the wind, came a familiar voice. "Have courage. Don't be afraid." Peter spoke first, as he often did. "If it really is you, Jesus," he blurted, "command me to come to you on the water." What was Peter thinking? Was he testing Jesus or himself? Did he hesitate before he stood up in the boat, tucked his robe through his belt, and climbed over the edge of the hull? Peter took one step, then another. His eyes were fixed on Jesus. But then he began to think, how is this possible? Water cannot hold him up. Why had he been so foolish? Whatever made him think he could do this impossible thing? Then Peter began to sink. Down, down he sank until all the waves had closed over his head. He fought his way to the surface, and with the bit of breath he still had, he cried out for help. "Lord, save me." Jesus stretched out his hand and caught Peter by the wrist. Before he knew what was happening, Peter found himself back on the boat, shaking and gasping for air. Jesus was there with him. "Why did you doubt?" Jesus asked gently. "The truth is, Peter, it will always be this way. If you lose faith, you will sink. But if you trust me, you will do all things you thought were impossible." Peter could not imagine what those things might be, but he never forgot what it felt like to take a step or two on the waves. I wonder what that was like for Peter, that whole experience. I wonder how it felt when he first started walking on the water and it was working. Can you imagine how excited you would feel? I wonder how he felt when he started sinking. That must have been really scary. I wonder what Jesus thought as he watched all of this happening. Did he think that his disciples were foolish, or was he hopeful that they were starting to understand his message and why he was here? So many things to wonder in this story. So our craft today is a fun one because there are no rules. You can't do this wrong. In your kits, you're going to get a bunch of things, and you can use them in whatever way you want in order to make a picture. And I'll explain to you what I've made, and if you want to make something similar, you can, but if you want to make it totally your own, that's also fine. So our story today was talking about Peter walking on water. And so I thought we could make pictures of a boat. So what you've got is you've got some cardstock, which is heavy paper. And what I've done is I folded it in half, and then I've cut out a box in the middle. Now this is a little tricky. What you do is you start cutting the box right in the middle and then gently go around and cut out the edges. So that way it makes sort of like a picture frame when you fold it and it goes on top of the other page, just to keep things nice and neat. So that's what I did. Then you'll also find that you've got some tissue paper and you've got some pieces of felt. You'll have all sorts of stuff there, okay? So what I did is I took the piece of felt and I used that to make a boat. So there's my little boat. And it's simple, you can make any kind of boat you want. I have no idea what kind this is, but mine's a sailboat, just a little basic sailboat. So there's the base of my sailboat. I took my blue paper, this is tissue paper, and it's folded in half. And what I did is I cut the top of it to make it rounded, just like there are waves. So this is my blue water. And then I got some orange tissue paper as well. So I used that to cut out a little triangle, which will be my sail. So those are the pieces of my boat and the water. So in order to do this craft, you're going to need a good pair of scissors. You'll need sharp ones because it's a little bit hard to cut the felt unless you have sharp scissors. So you need scissors, you'll want some glue. You'll also want some pencil crayons or a marker so that you can draw on your picture as well. So what I did is I cut out my boat and I placed things onto my paper just to see how they would all fit and just to make sure that they would fit. Okay, so what I did is I placed them and then I took my marker and I drew some things. So the things that I drew a mast for my sail, I drew some clouds, and I drew some fish because you can see through the tissue paper, so people might be able to see the little fish flying in the air. These are flying fish, which I think are hilarious. So fish that are just swimming around. You could draw an octopus or jellyfish, whatever you want, okay? So once you've got that done, then you can start adding your layers on top of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my boat down first and then put the water on top of the boat. And you can always check your frame just to make sure that everything's within the frame. So here's one trick that I'm going to do with my boat. So this is the top of the boat. The flat part is the top. And then the rounded part is the bottom of the boat. I'm only going to put glue on the rounded part at the bottom, so it'll be like a little pouch. So I'm not going to glue all of my boat onto the paper. I'm just going to glue the bottom rounded part, and I'll show you why afterwards. No. My glue was being a little stubborn, but now it's working. Okay, so I put some glue on my boat. Now it's time to put the boat on my page. That's great. And now I'm going to take and I'm going to glue my tissue paper to my waves onto the picture. And my tissue paper is too big for the paper that we've got here, but that's okay. I'm going to trim it later just to make the edges all neat. But right now what I can do is just put the blue where I want it and glue it just on the sides. So that way you won't see the glue spots, but it'll be nice and secure. Ta-da! Okay. So now I have my boat and I've got my water. And now I just have to put on my little sail. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of glue just because tissue paper is so light, it doesn't need to be stuck down very heavy. And we put the sail on. Good, so When I fold my frame down, I can see the whole picture now. I can see the boat with the sail and all the waves. And when you look very carefully, you can see the little fish swimming in the ocean. So what I can do in order to make this look a little bit neater is I can trim the blue part. So I'm going to turn it over so I can see where the blue part is, just like that. And I'm going to just trim it out. Okay. There, I got rid of all the extra blue. And what I can do is I can actually now, I could glue down my frame so that my frame is nice and sturdy as well. Okay, so that's going to take a little bit to dry, but we'll just use our imaginations that it's all dry. So there we go. And I did say that I didn't want to glue down the top of my boat, so it makes a little pouch. I can stick my finger into my boat. Can you see that? And the reason why I did that is because you'll also notice in your bags is that you received a little chicken. And I think these guys are hilarious. So I've been saving these all year so we could use them for a craft. So imagine that Peter in our story, remember Peter's the one who went and walked on water. Imagine that Peter is the chicken. So you're gonna put Peter in the boat and he's waiting to talk to Jesus before he goes and walks on water. So you can have a lot of fun with that. And you can take him out and play with him and put him back in. You can imagine him swimming on the water. You can have all sorts of fun with your chicken. All right, so have fun with this craft. I can't wait to see all the wonderful creative things you're going to do with all your bits and pieces of felt and tissue paper and cardstock. It's pretty simple, right? Now I'd like to share with you a story, and this story is by Rachel Held Evans. And Rachel was a minister, and unfortunately she died from COVID. That was really, really sad. But it's so lovely that this book of hers got published after she died. So I want to share it with you because it's such a lovely book. It's called What is God Like? What is God like? That's a very big question, one that people from places all around the world have wondered about since the beginning of time. And while nobody has seen all of God, because God is far too big for any of us to fully see, we can know what God is like. Take a look at these pictures here. There's the earth, and that looks like it's a giant narwhal that she's swimming with a narwhal. How cool is that? God is like an eagle, sharp-eyed and swift, with wings so wide you can play under their shadows. God is like a river, constant and life-giving. When you grow near God, you'll spread up strong as a tree. Look at all the beautiful trees growing. God is like the stars, forever present and bright. Even when they feel far away, you can always look up and see them winking at you. God is like a shepherd, brave and good, a protector who loves her sheep so much that she watches over all of them and knows each of their names by heart. She's riding a sheep. That's funny. God is like a fort, strong and secure with walls that are mighty and safe. Inside, there are hidden places to hold you when you're scared or need a quiet place to rest. I like that idea of God as like a blanket fort. God is like a gardener, patient and nurturing. God plants, waters, weeds, and fertilizes the earth until every good thing on it seeks the nourishing sun and grows. God is like the flame of a candle, warm and inviting. With God close by, you can look to the light and see through the darkest of nights. Look at that warm candle's glow. God is like the wind, passionate and full of mystery. God is both here and mysteriously also over there. God is everywhere, swirling through the world, whistling across the mountain ranges, rustling through trees, and pressing against your cheeks on a breezy day. God is like an artist, creative and unpredictable, always busy making new and remaking everything brilliant and new. They're making art birds. Aren't they beautiful? And I like how the birds are helping out too, and they're painting the floor. God is like a mother, strong and safe. You can crawl up into her lap whenever you want to, and she will hold you until you fall asleep. God is like a father, gentle and safe. He will put you on top of his shoulders and give you a bird's-eye view of all creation. God is like three dancers, graceful and precise. They move to the same music in very different ways, showcasing all of God's elegance and rhythm in your life. God is like a rainbow, vivid and full of color, a dazzling reminder of promise and hope for all people after a storm. God is like a best friend, faithful and true, closer to you than even your brothers and sisters. And because we know what God is like, we know that God is kind, God is forgiving, God is slow to get angry, God is quick to be glad, God is happy when you tell the truth and sad when things are unfair. She is your protector. He is trustworthy. They are friends when you feel alone. God hopes, God perseveres. What is God like? That's a very big question, one that people from places all around the world throughout all of time have answered in many different ways. Keep searching, keep wondering, keep learning about God. But whatever you aren't sure what God is like, think about what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel brave, and what makes you feel loved, because that is what God is like. The end. I hope you enjoyed our story. Now it's time to quiet our minds and calm our bodies and join together in prayer. So I invite you to put anything you've got in your hands, put it down. Get your feet planted on the floor. And I invite you to close your eyes. And this is a repeat after me style prayer. So I'm going to ask you to repeat after me. And this is a prayer by Michael Morwood. Let us pray. We give thanks for the Spirit of God in our world and in all people. We give thanks for the people who show us what the Spirit of God can do when they allow the Spirit to work in their lives. We give thanks for their wisdom, for their care and concern for others, for their generosity and courage, and for the many ways they make the world a better place. We give thanks for the Spirit of God in our lives. And we give thanks for our own particular gifts and abilities. May we use our own gifts of the Spirit well, so that God's Spirit will be seen in all we do and say. Amen.
Welcome back. Let's do some more singing. Our first song is I've Got the Joy. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart, down in my heart, down in my heart. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart, down in my heart to stay. I've got the peace that passes understanding down in my heart, down in my heart, down in my heart. I've got the peace that passes understanding down in my heart, down in my heart to stay. I've got the love of Jesus down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. I've got the love of Jesus down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart to stay. Awesome. Our next song is God Has the Whole World.
One, two, three.
God has the whole world in their hands. 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 God has the wind and the rain in their hands. God has the sun and the moon in their hands. God has the wind and the rain in their hands. God has the whole world in their hands. God has every ear in their hands. God has everybody here in their hands. God has everybody here in their hands. God has the whole world in their hands. Great. And our next song is called Pass It On, and it's in our hymn books. It's number 289 in Voices United.
One, two, three.
It only takes a spark to get a fire going, and soon all those around can warm up to its glowing. That's how it is with God's love. Once you've experienced it, you spread God's love to everyone. You want to pass it on. song for today is Kumbaya.
One, two, three. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Oh Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's crying, Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's crying, Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's crying, Lord, Kumbaya. Oh Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's praying, Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's praying, Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's praying, Lord, Kumbaya. Oh Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's singing, Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's singing, Lord, Kumbaya. Someone's singing, Lord, Kumbaya. Oh Lord, Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya. Oh Lord, Kumbaya.
Thank you for joining with us in worship this morning. It's been wonderful to have you here, and I hope that you've enjoyed our stories and our singing and our time together. Peace and blessings be with you through this week, and we'll see you again next month.